All right, so I want to talk about the testicle here. You can see it's kind of been dissected out. So remember that when we talk about the testicle itself, that layer that adheres to the testicle, that white layer, is the tunica uh, albuginea. So that tunica albuginea is going to go further into the testicle and kind of separate it out. So here we can actually see the testicle has a couple of tubes, which we're seeing here and here, and there's a lot more tubes if we dissect some of this tissue out, but a lot of that is going to be glandular tissue, because remember, the testicle is not only producing sperm, it's producing testosterone. So this is the layer that I kind of removed. There is another layer of connective tissue. That connective tissue is called the tunica vaginalis, but we also have this large muscle. So I want to remind you of sperm production. Remember, sperm production has to occur 3 degrees Celsius lower than body temperature. So that means the testicles are in the scrotum, and the scrotum is basically going to try to control the temperature. So if a man gets cold, his testicles are going to come up. If he gets hot, they're going to hang a little lower, and it's because of this muscle here. It's called the cremaster muscle. That muscle is basically moving the testicle either up toward the body where it's going to be warmer, or further away from the body where it's going to be cooler. So when we look at the testicle again, we're looking at the tunica albuginea, which is that white layer, but you'll also notice that we have this cup-shaped structure that the testicle is sitting on. This is the epididymis. We have the head of the epididymis here, and we have the tail down here. So the head is actually closer to the spermatic cord. The spermatic cord, remember, has your blood vessels, your nerves, and that ductus or the vas deferens, which we'll talk about here in a second. So once sperm are produced in the seminiferous tubules, they're going to move out of the testes and they're going to go into the epididymis. The epididymis is where they're going to mature. So it's basically them getting bigger, them learning how to swim, and just maturing. They're streamlining and they're becoming mature. So you notice that the epididymis here is not a thin tube like we see in the tube right below it. It's a lot thicker, and that's because it's coiled. So basically what happens is, as they move through the epididymis, they are maturing, and that maturation takes over a month. It's about a month and a half. And so what's happening during ejaculation is the testicle and the epididymis are contracting. So it's going to move those sperm are going to move from the head of the epididymis to the tail, and then they're going to move from the tail. If we follow the tail here, you can see right in there, that tail is attached to the ductus or the vas deferens. So this little tube here is the ductus or the vas deferens. So remember, that is moving that sperm from the epididymis into the ductus deferens to get to the ejaculatory duct, which is then going to go to the urethra. So when we look at the spermatic cord, you'll actually see here I've got some blood vessels, some nerves, but I've also got that ductus deferens. So the spermatic cord is holding those blood vessels, nerves, and that ductus deferens, so it can go back into the abdominal pelvic cavity, so that way it can go and pick up some of that seminal fluid. So when we talk again about the testicle here, you can actually see the head up here of the epididymis has been cut, and the tail down here has been cut. So the reason this looks so glandular, remember, is that our sperm are produced in those seminiferous tubules, so the tubes of the testes. And if we actually dissected this out, the tubes actually kind of look like ramen noodles. There's a lot of them. So the seminiferous tubules is where the sperm are produced. The rest of the tissue is glandular tissue, and that glandular tissue is due to those interstitial cells that are producing testosterone.